Boom. All right. I think we're recording. All right.
All
Welcome
right.
in for the inaugural Palomar Perspective. I'm David Rivers, partner at the Palomar Group. We're an investment sales firm out of Augusta, Georgia. Today's guest, Ross Cooper. Ross Cooper is the president, CIO at KIMCO Corporation. You guys currently own approximately 420 assets, totaling about 72 million square feet, strictly in the top 20 MSAs. First off, I'm glad you guys are doing well. Ross is just outside of New York. We're going to start off.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be the inaugural guest in this series. Wow, this is big time.
It's a pretty big deal, Ross, and we appreciate you coming on. Couldn't be more excited. We're setting the bar really high out the gate here. Okay, so let's get into it. Couple personal questions. We're going to call this the underwriting, right? Where you try to really get to understand your subject, whether that be the property or the guy we're interviewing. You were pretty much raised in this industry. What do you love about it? Real estate, what you do?
Well, I guess every day is a new adventure. I definitely didn't anticipate that this is the conversation that we would be having, as we were getting into 2020. We've had a great run in the industry, and particularly with KIMCO over the last few years. We've really transformed the portfolio. We've turned around the business. We feel really confident in the portfolio of assets that we have, starting to dip our toe in the water of mixed use. And we put together a plan entering 2020, capital plan, budgets, our anticipated acquisitions, our anticipated dispositions. Well, we're now in March, and you could throw that all out the window because, this thing hit us completely out of the blue. So I guess the good and the bad is you just don't know what's going to happen. And I think that keeps everybody on their toes. It keeps it an exciting industry. Clearly, this is a very challenging time, and public health is a critical concern first and foremost. But it does allow us the opportunity to kind of rethink our strategy, to get into more of a defensive hunker down mode, and then hopefully sooner than later we'll be on the back end of this and we'll start looking at deals again.
It's so accurate. I mean, our industry day to day, the beauty of it is you don't really know what to expect, and we're dealing with that, but to like the thousandth degree. Okay, everybody's been talking about buying their goods, hoarding, right? You can't find toilet paper. So assuming your family had all the goods they needed, and Ross Cooper had one stop to make on the way home, and he could buy anything he needed just for him, what would that purchase be?
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, I'm considering that I'm sitting at home quarantined for the last 2 weeks. I'm really craving some sushi right now. So
sushi.
I think that might be the dinner of choice. Yeah, little, some high quality seafood. I don't know.
So in New York, are the restaurants shut down completely? No takeout, no delivery?
Yeah, no, there's takeout, there's some delivery. Everybody's doing it differently. There's no dine in right now, but you have a lot of concepts that are still open where you'll call or order online and hang out in your car, and they'll either come out and bring it to you, or you'll hang out by the front door, and then they'll sort of wave you in when it's ready. So businesses are trying to get creative. It's nowhere near the level of sales performance for a lot of these guys that they on a normal day, but particularly the food and beverage operators are still trying to maintain some be able to pay their staffs and keep this thing going while we brace for the worst of it. And then hopefully a few weeks from now, we'll be moving back towards the other side of it.
Okay, I got to brag on you real quick, Ross. We deal with a lot of different people in this industry. The nature of contact today is email, text, phone. Out of everybody we cross paths with, you're one of the most genuine guys, and you're the quickest, hands down, to respond to an email, to a text. And I don't know if that's just because you take that off your plate. How do you do it? But I just want to compliment you on that. It's an unbelievable trait. particularly for groups like us, which 99.9% of the time, when we're reaching out to you, there's really not a whole big benefit from your side.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. It's something that's been ingrained in me, since I was, just entering the business. I don't think to be successful in the industry, you have to be the smartest or the most well capitalized, but it amazes me how, just the act of being responsive, which is such an easy thing to do. So many people don't do it. So it can be a gift and a curse. I do, to your point, if I go to sleep at night without an email responded to or a phone call left unanswered, it gives me anxiety. So I do have to get it off my plate. And that way I can sleep easy knowing that, the next day is a clean slate.
Well, it's a great trait. I know you get pulled in a lot of different directions, and it's really, really impressive. You're talking about your portfolio. Over the last 10 years, you guys had a pretty big sell-off of non-core assets, approximately 475. In the past, you used a term called retail Darwinism, which I think is awesome, just speaking to the evolution of it. In working through that evolution of your portfolio, how do you feel like it's positioned today to handle this crisis?
Yeah, I mean, we feel really fortunate that we've done the heavy lift that we have. And it really dates back to just getting out of, the great financial crisis in 08 and 09. It became very apparent to us that it's very challenging and inefficient to try and be, the master of everything. So we had investments in Canada, in Mexico, South America. We had a preferred equity platform where we were putting out capital to operators that were running, you name it. I mean, hotel, self-storage, in some cases industrial, and it really wasn't our expertise. So first and foremost, we got back to basics. We focused on continental US retail shopping centers. And then we took it a step further to say, where is the population growth? Where is the density? Where are the areas and locations that we think long-term are going to be able to withstand what clearly is an evolving retail landscape? So for better or for worse, we got out of a lot of secondary and tertiary markets. If you look at the composition of our portfolio today, it's really the top 20 MSAs, primarily coastal, with Texas, Denver, Phoenix, a couple of other markets outside of just the coast. But those are the locations where we see long-term growth as well as adaptability. So when we look at our portfolio today, we're really looking for opportunities to add density, to reposition certain assets. I think that, the commodity retail centers are the ones that are going to be most challenged going forward, where even during this crisis, you see the way that people's shopping behaviors are changing. And there's going to be a lot of people that, don't need to get certain goods in person. So you really want to be able to provide a experience or an ecosystem for the retailer and the consumer to be able to be successful and to provide something that people want to go and actually visit and spend time at. And we felt that the locations and the markets and the MSAs in which we now own most of our properties is where a lot of that is feasible. And then taking it a step further, if we could add a mix of uses with multifamily or hospitality or office, we think that just adds another amenity, another benefit to our real estate. So that's really what we've positioned the portfolio to do. And I think that once we, get through the COVID pandemic, we were on the path of showcasing the benefits of that improved portfolio. Mm-hmm. We've had really great results the last few years. Putting aside what's happening now, I think that will be the case again once we get through this.
Yeah, and to that point about the experience-based retail you guys have, and the portfolio evolving, right? Places that are offering, groceries in predominantly majority of your centers. It's going to be a long time. Most people feel that e-commerce is going to really put a dent on that. That's driving shoppers into your shopping centers across the country. Do you think shopping habits, people wanting to go to places that large numbers will be convening at, do you think that will change when we come through this crisis we're in? Or do you think people will resume shopping and social common area gathering as they have in the past, movie theaters, bowling alleys, particularly that experience-based retail side of the industry?
Yeah, I think it'll be a gradual return back to that. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be immediate, but I do believe that, we're social animals by nature, and shopping patterns will change for some. There's definitely, I've heard a lot of anecdotes about older population that was previously resistant to shopping online, and now maybe this crisis is something that pushes them in that direction, maybe more permanent. But again, I think it just goes back to the change that's already been happening. Maybe this helps expedite it a little bit, but omni-channel is really the direction that all these retailers that are successful or have been going in for the last several years and making those investments. So I do think that e-commerce is critical to the ecosystem of retail and for the consumer.
Sure.
But bricks and mortar is equally, if not more important, because that's really where the profitable sales are taking place. And you hear a lot about people that have been quarantined for really, it feels like it's been a year, but it's really only been a couple of weeks. And everyone is already itching to get out of their houses and go back to shopping and to go back to, restaurants and bars and whatever the case may be. So for us, we've always felt that being in our format of open air, of having the essential, everyday goods and services with some of that entertainment and F&B is the best format to be in within retail. And I think that this just showcases that even further, that through all parts of the cycle, through all, the unknown events that could happen, we have a product critical to people's everyday lives.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's so accurate. Some guys, some buddies of ours that are in marketing asked us the other day what our take was on retail and how this would affect it. And you're right. We are a social species, right? We want to get out. You want to see people, and that's been more ingrained, I think, in all of us in the time that we've been shut down, which is just a minimal amount of time, right? 7 to 10 days. Secondly, I think it's also reinforced that instant gratification of, hey, if I need a product, I want to be able to run into Bed Bath & Beyond or Target or Hobby Lobby and need it now. Whereas once that option has been removed and taken off the table, you realize it even more like, that is a valuable service, right? It does reinforce that brick and mortar piece. You talked about kind of the plan for 2020, right? The government right now is fighting really a two-front attack, right? How do we tackle the solution for the COVID? And then how do we not implode the economy at the same time? COVID or a global pandemic is most definitely something no one factored into their 2020 budgets. So how do you guys simultaneously adapt to COVID and the impact it's having on your properties while maintaining the strategic plan you have in place for your portfolio and your assets? Are you able to do that simultaneously?
Yeah, that's clearly our challenge. We put out guidance at the end of January, which again wasn't that long ago in the scheme of things, but the world has changed. So it's going to be very difficult to try and hit certain, fundamental marks and earnings and things of that nature that we put out recently. We're going to do the best we can, but we're also in a very long-term business. So hitting, goals that we set for ourselves quarterly or annually are important. Obviously, as a public company, we have investors that, get earnings releases from us every 90 days, and we're on that constant cycle. Mm-hmm. So we're cognizant of that. That's, my report card is making sure we hit those targets. But at the same time, we're in this for the long haul. We've been our company has been in existence for over 60 years, and we're going to be in existence for another 60 years plus more, hopefully. So we're really more focused on maintaining the balance in our shopping centers long term, making sure that the retailers that are really having a tough time right now, that we work with them within reason to ensure that they can survive through this. Obviously, there's going to be some back and forth, and it's very different depending on which retailer or which concept you're talking about. But hitting short-term goals are one thing. Making sure that these properties come out the back end of this pandemic in good shape and in a position to continue to grow is really more important, to be completely candid.
Yeah, that's great. No, and that's always been a big piece of your all's strategy and really the foundation of what you are, that it's not a 12-month program, 18-month program. It's the long haul, right? So our group, we probably had as many deals at one time as we've ever had, and the crisis hit. So we've got, across the various stages of acquisition and disposition, we have deals where a lot of groups are just straight pins down across everything they were working on. We have other deals where buyers say, hey, I still want it. I just need more time to figure it out. Sellers are receptive to that, right? We're all essentially in this same sandbox together. And then we have a couple deals that are more private, family office, groups that rely on local lending, and they're plugging forward as they had originally kind of agreed to do. On deals that you guys have, and I know you don't have as many today as say you would have a year ago, what are you seeing on active dispos, as well as any deals you may be looking to acquire right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're typically on both sides of the table, so we can understand the position that buyers are in, as we've been looking to buy at the beginning of this year as well. Clearly for us, we're very focused on cost of capital and making accretive investments. Our cost of capital has risen dramatically in the last couple of months, really in the last couple of weeks. So unfortunately, the hurdle becomes much higher for us on the acquisition side. On the disposition side, I mean, we put out a much more modest pipeline for this year. We put out guidance of $200 to $300 million of dispositions for this year at the beginning of the year, compared to the last few years where we've sold in 2018 upwards of $1 billion. So we were never anticipating transacting nearly as much as we have in the years past, but even so, I think that's going to be a challenge to hit when right now things, with the exception of a couple smaller deals that are still moving forward, albeit at a slower pace, it's going to be much harder to transact when you have probably what ends up being close to a 90 plus or minus day, I think, moratorium on transactions for the most part. So we're definitely working with those buyers that are still, in good faith, trying to get things across the finish line. If they need a little bit more time, if they need a little bit more assistance, we're cooperating where possible. And then there's other examples where I think both sides probably see that it's not the right time right now. Pencils down. We'll revisit when things get back to a bit of normalization. So unfortunately, most things right now are frozen, with the exception of a couple small things that are still inching forward.
Sure. Yeah. All right. If you were to advise a group that specializes in retail investment sales where to focus over the next 4 weeks while we have this downtime, and where the opportunities may be the remainder of 2020, what kind of advice would you give us?
Buy KIMCO stock.
Love that. I love that. I agree with that.
It's pretty compelling. It's pretty attractive right now.
There's a lot of runway there right now, isn't there?
I love that.
Okay. So to wrap it up, the common area. Okay, we call this the common area. The common area is where everybody congregates. You put your luggage, your baggage out there. We all go to ICSCs. You've been in this industry now for 15, 16 years, correct? Working, you've been around it for 20 plus. Most embarrassing thing that's happened to you at an ICSC?
Yeah, in my younger days, I used to take the Tuesday night opportunity at Vegas to let my hair down a little bit, and it was my daughter's birthday the day after, and I won't get into the gory details, but I slept through my flight Wednesday morning, and I had to fly home the next day. Missed my flight, got on a later one. Kind of missed my daughter's birthday, so I've been taking the red eye back on Tuesday night for the last 5 or 6 years.
Smart. Yeah. Look, Ross, we think the world of you. Okay, we're glad you and your family are doing great, being safe. You're one of our favorite guys in this industry. Thank you for carving out some time to chat. I know you got a busy schedule and a ton going on, but Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Stay safe, guys. We'll talk soon.
All right, brother. See you.
All right, take it easy.